The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, he's been feeling a little furry lately. What did you do to Jacob now?
Wow! Why do I have ears this time?
I don't know.
Dealet!
Oh, I'm sure you're happy about it. I don't know why you keep doing this to the boy.
Yeesh. Every other episode. Hey!
Continue.
Oh, why thank you. Meow. This is going to get interesting, people. Let's just say that. Why thank you. Let me use our co-host. A man who, gets a little bird brain every once in a while. Welcome, Drew.
Bird brain?
Yeah, bird brain.
Do I look like a murderer of crows to you?
Maybe. You're wearing black.
And your points. Because you're wearing black too tonight.
That's true, but I'm in mourning here.
Well, okay, I'll give you that much. Also joining us this evening, we have a special guest coming to us live from the Retro, well, not live from the Retro Rewind podcast because they're not live right now. But he is joining us from that. He's a man who, I don't know, I don't have a good intro for this. Welcome, Paul.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. I am a man who's also a website. I am pauljpowers.com.
.com.
That makes sense. So, Jacob, so we have a guest tonight. I think we need to have an interrogation.
I think so. That's right.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Bring it.
All right, Paul. All right, so as normal on when we have guests, and we've had a lot of guests over the past couple of years, including on this month of Studio Ghibli, which is an enormous blessing. So, Paul, going into our interrogation of animation wondery or whatever this is called. So, what is your favorite Studio Ghibli movie?
Oh.
That you've seen.
What was that?
That you've seen.
That I've seen. Yeah, of course. It's a tie. I want to say it's a tie between the one you reviewed last week, which was Spirited Away, and Princess Mononoke. But I have to lean more towards Princess Mononoke. It's just the animation and it's just a little bit more tight and fluid, and so I would say Princess Mononoke.
That makes sense.
All right. What was the last animated movie you saw in theaters?
It was the it was Dragon Ball Super Superheroes, I think is the title of it.
That is the title.
That's the tongue twister. So what did you think about the film?
None of us are happy with the double super in that title.
Yes.
Right. I have not watched the Supers yet. I've only seen a few of the Dragon Ball Z initially. I've seen all the Frieza saga, but I have seen the past couple movies like Broly in the theaters, and I just love it. They really know how to build the momentum up to a mega fight at the end, and that's just a fun watch. Now this time they went 3D animation with the cell capture rather than the 2D, and go ahead.
I was not a fan of that, especially in the beginning of that movie.
Yes, especially when they do the zoom in on these characters like they do in traditional animation, but in computer animation it gets pixelated, and so that becomes very obvious on a big giant theater screen. But I thought
it's just that the regular super art style that was used both in Dragon Ball Super and in Broly just looks so good.
Yeah,
that I don't understand why. I guess maybe because of COVID is the reason why they switched to what might have been a faster process. Because this looks like the model straight from the Dragon Ball Fighters video game.
It does look like a video game, but the overall story, I enjoyed the intro of the new characters and bringing back some of the characters that you know from before. So I had a fun time with that. Yeah. Recommend checking it out.
Excellent. So if you were to, this is going to be a fun one, I think.
Okay.
So if you talking about Francisco here,
Oh, okay. The captain of the Retro Rewind pod.
Captain Roy.
Yeah, Roy.
Yes.
Roy. Knowing his infinity, his absolute love for Disney movies.
Yes.
What Disney movie would you stick Francisco, Captain Roy, into?
As a character?
As a character.
Yeah.
I'd have him be command of a ship in Treasure Planet.
Ooh.
I still haven't seen that one.
That's a good movie. I recently saw that. It was really good.
Yeah, I'm not saying replace him with a certain character. I mean, you can't really replace him with Long John Silver. He's not quite the same captain in that.
Right.
No.
No, but as a captain of his own ship, I think he would fit well in that world.
Oh, okay. So kind of same in the same way. If you what Disney animated movie would you want to be strapped into?
Oh, that is an excellent question. Oh man. My nostalgic flares are flaring up and Robin Hood comes to mind. I think that would be a fun world.
Oh,
to
that
live
would be
in.
fun.
Oh yeah.
That'd be so much fun. What was the most recent? Well, what is your favorite anime movie or television series you've seen?
Princess Mononoke for movie, but television. Okay, this is frustrating because I'll say season 1, my favorite season 1 of ReZero, what is that called? The
one about the guy who every time he dies he restarts.
Starts over like a video game. Right. That first season is so rich in character and story, and there's a lot of characters, and I'm the kind of person who gets easily lost if there's too many characters, but the way it pans out, it's easy to follow, and there's a lot going on. Unfortunately, the second season, the story kind of grinds to a halt. There's about a fourth of a story in there, and it's so riddled with dialogue in it. It's just it pales compared to the first season. So that is my favorite season of all time, if that counts. So I can't say it's like my favorite anime because 1 and 2 seasons are so different from each other. It's like frustrating.
So I know I this that show, but I didn't get past like episode 4, I think, because it just was too dark for me.
Yes, it does
very
dark. It's not for all audiences, and it gets even darker than that as the show goes along. But if you can stomach it, I thought it was really well done as far as the character developments and such.
I remember when I saw the animation that looked good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So kind of going in the same theme of, go ahead.
No, I was about to say, Francisco's chiming in the chat. He says, it's ReZero, starting life in another world. Thanks, Captain.
All right. Thanks, Roy.
Thank you, Roy.
Oh my gosh. So kind of in the same theme of what we're doing with The Cat Returns is that our main character, what's her name again?
Haru.
Haru. I love that name, Haru.
It has no meaning, by the way.
Oh, okay. It's a cute name.
Really?
Interesting. So if you were thrust in the cat world, and you got turned into a cat, would you enjoy it? Would you dread it? Or would you want to would you be like, I want to stay here, I'm a cat now, or do you want to get out of there fast as you can?
There's a part of me that would I would like, hey, I'll make it work. And like they said, it's just lying down on the ground, eating whenever you want, especially if you're in the kingdom there where everything's taken care of for you.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, I had it wrong. It doesn't mean that Haru doesn't mean nothing. It means spring.
Spring. Oh, okay.
But it's such a generic name over there. It's not that big a deal.
I got you.
Now, does it mean spring like the
season
or like the coil wire?
It specifically says the season.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Which kind of fits her character.
Sure.
Anyway.
Unless you were more like Haru's situation where you're literally getting married off to like either the prince or the king is trying to marry you off to him. That's like, get the fur ball out of there.
We'll get more into that later.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. But yeah. So out of what is your favorite, just beyond anime, what is your favorite animated movie?
Film of all time
Yes.
is The Incredibles.
Nice.
Superhero, action-packed, love it.
Nice.
I assume 1 over 2.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, because two has, one is an incredible film that is like, it is just superhero to the brim and just kind of plays with the genre a little bit.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
And 2 is basically just rehashes, flips a few things, and in one case, almost for me, someone who has epilepsy or a case of epilepsy, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have a seizure here right down the theater.
And none of us knew that was going to happen until it started.
Oh no.
And we were watching it with our friend Chase, and we both knew about your epilepsy, and we both were wondering, is Jacob going to be okay?
Oh, that's too bad.
Jacob, close your eyes.
They're both doing this number. It's hilarious. Because kind of a story I love to tell in this show. And
I nearly killed him with Spider-Man.
Yeah, we're talking about Spider-Man and No
Into
Way
the
Home.
Spider-Verse?
Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I can say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so going into that, so I was not foretold of any of that because I have Tourette's disorder.
In my defense, even though I had already seen the movie, I did not know at that time you had epilepsy.
Which is perfectly
I did
fine.
not know to warn you.
So we're sitting down in the theater, and it's Drew's, like, I'm sitting in the middle, Drew's here, then our friend Wendy's sitting next to us. And it starts going on. I'm like, oh, crap. It's just flashing lights beyond belief. I'm like, oh, it's like, Drew, what did you tell me?
I didn't know.
I'm sitting
your
there,
epilepsy
holding my
had
hand. I'm like,
your epilepsy had never come up in conversation before.
that is true. That is true. They're like, in my defense, I never brought it up. So it's just more like, oh my gosh. But it was fine. It'd be like, I could feel a little twinge here and there, but that was perfectly fine. In which I am not blaming my friend here at all. He didn't know about it. But I love to bring that story up.
Anywho.
Anyways, I think that's the end of our interrogation. I think you survived a little bit.
Oh, just a little. Thank you.
Yeah, just a little. He didn't get to turn into a cat.
No, not yet.
Not yet.
If I stay long enough, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Who knows? All right. So for you guys, I do have a question.
What have you been watching?
And I think we're going to start with Paul since he is our guest. So, Paul, what have you been watching?
So this last week, Zootopia Plus came out on Disney Plus, and I watched that. It's 6 episodes, which are about 10 minutes long, so it's about an hour, but it's really mainly shorts. But what it is, it's side characters, and they show like from the movie, and they show like a little glimpse from the movie, and then the kind of the story that either led into that brief moment of the movie or after, or both. So it's kind of like Lion King. What is it?
1.5.
The third one, where it's the life of Timon and Pumbaa during, like what scenes they're not doing in the Lion King. What's that movie called? Is it
The Lion King 1.5?
I think, yeah, that's it. It's these episodes are like that, but with the Zootopia minor characters. So those are fun. I recommend that. The other thing that I watched, and boy, this is really, the timing on this is really, unfortunately good. And you'll see what I mean. I finally got around to watching Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons that I think came out in the spring of this year.
Yeah.
So that was a fun watch, but the guy who played Batman in that was Roy Baker. And he sounds a lot like Kevin Conroy, who unfortunately just passed away today. So I for those people who are mourning, and rightfully so, as Jacob is wearing the Batman shirt, I would keep a lookout for Roy Baker. Is it Roy Baker or Troy Baker?
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker.
Troy Baker as a good replacement for a very similar Batman. There are several who do the voices for like the video games that haven't been Kevin Conroy, who get kind of close. Some are more gravelly, but I would keep a lookout for Troy Baker on that one.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So Jacob, what have you been watching?
What I've been watching, I recently stumbled across Gabriel Iglesias' Studio Fluffy on Netflix. That
I see now why earlier you said you couldn't pronounce Spanish.
I tried.
You did get close with Gabriel Iglesias.
Yeah.
I can't pronounce it the way you did, but
Thank you for the translation.
Right.
so you watched Gabriel. Is it a movie? Is
No,
it a
it's-
special or is it a TV show?
It's a special that's at I believe at come on, Yankee Stadium in New York. And originally he was supposed to do a special for Netflix in San Antonio, but apparently he got COVID last year, and so he wasn't able to do it. And so they were able to do it in New York. And so this was his first big stadium concert. And it was good. It touched on a lot of things. Definitely COVID. Touched on a lot of. It was just funny. If you've never watched Fluffy at all, either then or now, it's absolutely hysterical.
Oh, the comedian.
Yes,
Yeah.
the comedian.
I was thinking the singer Iglesias. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, Gabriel Iglesias, the comedian,
Yeah.
better known as Pikachu.
Yeah.
Also known as Fluffy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good. It was so much fun. And yeah, with I wanted to so badly. Now, how I watch Star Trek Lower Decks is through the app on my PS4. My PS4. And that
And you
app
have trouble with that every week.
every single week. So it'd be like, yeah, I'm able to log in, no problem. I can watch one episode and then the system completely freezes.
Darn.
The app
Weird.
completely freezes.
You should have the lower decks check in on that.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I bet Rutherford could fix that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. So yeah, I was this close because we finished up season 2 with our review on TAS. And I was this close to watching what was going on in season 3. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna hold off because how this ends is like, wow, this is really good. I want to hold that suspense of what's going on later, but let's just not do that right now. But other than that,
All I'm gonna say is remember, we all in Lower Decks, we're always following the B story,
yeah,
not the A story.
nice.
That's all I'm gonna say.
So I'm only assuming that the A story and B story merge.
All I'm saying is I have already talked about this episode on what we've been watching.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
And the next one is really, there's not a bad, I don't think I saw a bad one in season 3, but there may be weaker ones. We'll see.
Okay. But I do watch a lot of Casual Criminals on YouTube. It's by a guy named Simon Whistler, and it's basically about true crime. I love true crime. Like I've said multiple times throughout this podcast.
Which is why I do not piss my co-host off.
Don't hack off Ashley because she goes to sleep listening to true crime podcasts.
Oh, wow.
That's what puts her to sleep, which is scary.
Yeah, you really should be very careful with that, by the way.
Yeah, perfectly. Yes.
Ashley, I know you're listening. Maybe not live, but I know you're going to be listening to this eventually. I'm not saying that because I think you actually want to murder your boyfriend here. I'm just saying he needs to be careful because he doesn't want to tempt you.
I think someone's gonna die.
So, Jacob, if you wind up missing,
This episode will be
Be a
evidence
record
A.
of it.
we know who to look for. So,
I got you,
good luck
you.
on that, Ashley.
Oh my gosh. That is all I have been watching. What about you, Drew?
So, of course, as I've been doing, like I've said, every week for the past, 5-6 weeks now,
Uh-huh.
I am watching Spy Family.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is a highlight of my week. The last episode was really good. I really am looking forward to when we throw this in the animated series because this is a good show and I highly suggest it to anybody.
So this is the one where Twilight meets his opposite spy?
Yes. Yes, it is. This is the one with Daybreak.
Yes, there's Twilight and then the opposite is Daybreak. And there's two
Wow.
spies.
The less said about that, the better.
The
because
better,
that is
yes.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is funny.
But it's also the one where we find out that Anya's telepathy has a weakness.
Ah.
Yeah.
So
What? No more adventure? Be like more adventure with Bond?
It's
Bond
we found
is
out what
there.
Okay.
we find out what her kryptonite is, so to
Yes.
speak.
Oh, okay. It's not chocolates or cookies.
Well,
No.
you have to watch to find out.
Okay, then.
Let's just say the last couple nights would show that she would be having trouble right now.
Oh. Hmm. Hmm.
Beyond.
Yes.
Honestly, I haven't watched a whole. Well, I take it back. I have been watching something else. Back when the Doctor Who first switched over to Jodie Whittaker,
Mm-hmm.
I think is her name, as the female Doctor. I watched like a bit of the first season and then I dropped out mostly because I'd been watching Doctor Who for like 8 years straight at that point. And so I mostly needed a break, especially with the end of the 12th Doctor being as lackluster as it was. Not saying there weren't good episodes, but yeah. And I been needing something else to watch. And considering some recent news in the Doctor Who fandom, I decided I needed to catch up with the episodes I missed. So I finished season 10, the first season with Jodie Whittaker in there.
Mm-hmm.
That show's a lot better than I originally gave it credit for.
Mm.
I am actually enjoying it. In fact, I just saw the New Year's special and I was watching that and going, wow, this is actually really, really good.
Now, is it good compared to the previous Doctor who was so lackluster, or?
Capaldi actually was good in his first couple seasons. I honestly feel the problem with Capaldi is the showrunner at the time, Stephen Moffat, was just off his game there, getting closer and closer to the end, and was probably should have quit a season earlier, a season or two earlier. And really, after that first Matt Smith season, with him doing double duty with Sherlock at the time, I think that caused more issues with the show in general, just the quality of it. Not saying it wasn't good, because I mean, there's a lot of good episodes in there, but it is as good as I would say Matt Smith's first season was.
Wow,
Just to put it in perspective.
that's impressive.
I'm not saying there's not some things I wish were different, but I mean, at the same time, it's handled well.
That's good.
So, yeah. And that's pretty much what I have been watching. So, Jacob, what do we got in the news? Well, that didn't play right.
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you, Deal It. Do I still have ears? Maybe.
She says you'll just have to wait to find out.
Lovely.
I like your
Anyways.
whiskers, though.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Where's the cat? Where's my mouse?
She's laughing, by the way.
Oh, joy. All right, so I'm gonna start with some, more the more breaking news that I learned this morning. Oddly enough, through a group chat that said Kevin Conroy had passed away.
By Batman.
Yeah, the voice of Batman.
No, literally, it's like when you talk about how everyone always says this character is my version of Batman. It's who I think of Batman. This was mine.
Yeah,
Kevin Conroy will always be my Batman.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agreed. So I saw that and was like, okay, maybe it's a joke or something, but no. Sadly, on yesterday, which would have been the 10th, Kevin Conroy, prolific fan favorite voice of DC's Batman through animated series, through constant incarnations of that character, sadly passed away at the age of 66 after a short battle of cancer. Donning the Batman cowl, Conroy set unbroke records, voicing the iconic character for nearly 60 different productions, including 16 films, 15 animated series, spanning nearly 400 episodes and more than 100 hours of television. And more than 24 video games. He's also appeared in the live action as Bruce Wayne himself from the Arrowverse Crisis on Infinite Earths in 2019 to 2020. In recent years, fans have encountered him as a warm fixture on the Comic-Con circuit, and he'll be truly missed. For anybody who grew up in the 90s and watched Batman the Animated Series, that's Kevin Conroy. And I guarantee there are a lot of people who are not just nerds like a lot of us are, but are just have a fondness for Batman the Animated Series. And we lost a true legend in the voice talent community. So Kevin Conroy will be truly missed. So going on to something that just recently happened. Happened today.
Literally half an hour before we started.
Yes. So I'm doing the news, and I think someone had mentioned, I saw something about on my newsfeed on Facebook, something about Studio Ghibli. And
I posted the teaser yesterday on our Facebook page of the Studio Ghibli Lucasfilm collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
But yesterday, that's all we knew until about literally an hour ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So what he's referring to, it was a tweet that they posted out on sadly yesterday, November 10th. That it was just basically, it was a flashing image. It was a flash image of the Lucasfilm logo before showing the Studio Ghibli its own marker. And so today they released and I put update because literally I've got notes done, and then I get the message from Paul. It's like, oh, this just updated, and then I get the message from Drew. It's like, oh, here's more update information.
Nice.
So this weekend just got a lot more exciting for animation fans. Disney Plus viewers will be treated to a brand new animated short called Zen. Grogu. There again, I have a hard time with English.
and then you get a name like Grogu.
Yeah, Grogu. And I'm going to butcher it.
Baby Yoda. Let's just call him Baby Yoda.
I am terrible with English, people, and I speak English.
To quote, what's her name from the end of the Book of Fett? That's a horrible name. I'm never calling you that.
Yeah.
So Gogurt, I'm gonna butcher it again.
Did you say
Yoda
yogurt?
Gogurt.
Go-Gurt. Okay, that is officially the name of the Spaceballs variant of Baby Yoda. Go-Gurt.
Makes sense.
Oh, so Baby Yoda and the Dust Bunnies, an exciting collaboration between Studio Ghibli and Lucasfilm. Time to celebrate the third anniversary of The Mandalorian and its streaming service. The short premieres on November 12th, which is tomorrow on Saturday.
Probably the day after this episode comes out.
Possibly exclusively on Disney Plus. So yeah, if you want to get your Mandalorian fix on and you love Studio Ghibli, which we're doing a review over on this episode, go check it out. I guarantee a lot of people are like, when's it launch? When's it launch? Because I got to be up that early.
Probably at 2 a.m.
Probably.
Which I will be asleep during.
Same here.
I am a nerd and I will watch this, but I will watch this in the morning.
Yes.
After I've slept. Because I am also an old man now.
Oh, you're not that old.
No, I'm not that old.
Good Saturday morning cartoon.
That is true.
Exactly.
There we go. So yeah.
Before we make fun of Roy on the Saturday, what's not Saturday Kid Adventures right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is all I have for in the news, unless somebody else has more information that I don't.
That's all I've got.
Excellent.
You got anything, Paul? So why don't we go ahead and jump into the spoiler-free section of our review on The Cat Returns.
Wow. Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
So, Paul, why don't you start us off? What are your spoiler-free thoughts?
No, I'm one of those
this movie?
weirdos that thinks there's no such thing as a spoiler-free review. It's like, hey, this is a movie. It was made. Anything of the plot or anything. I will say, but what I consider a spoiler, but without getting away any plot details, this is a delightful fantasy movie about cats.
Okay, then.
That's a good one.
Well, then let me ask you this. Would you suggest somebody go watch the film?
Sure. There's a certain group of people yeah. It's not for everybody, but if you're what do they call someone who is a Ghibli fan? I would say yes.
I don't know. I've never heard a fan name for that. I think it's just gets lumped in with the rest of anime, so you get otaku.
Ghibli maniacs. I don't know, whatever.
A Ghibliite?
Sure. All you Ghiblis out there, you gotta see it. It's by the studio, so it's a must. But if you're an animation fan, you just gotta watch all that Ghibli puts out, even Grogurt.
All right, Jacob. What are your spoiler-free thoughts?
Oh man, what can I say about except just meow? Dang it, we're gonna work on that.
D-lets. Do you at least have an antidote this time? No?
What?
How long does it take to wear off? Well, at least you'll be done before you and Ashley meet up for your date tomorrow.
Okay, good.
Supposedly.
So hopefully there's no catnip. Otherwise, things will get weird.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love this film. To make a long story short, we were reviewing last year, I believe we were.
Yes. Last year is when we did that.
What's the movie called again?
Whispers of the Heart.
Thank you. Whispers of the Heart. There again, I'm terrible with English. Apparently.
The heart whispers anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So Whispers of the Heart. I watched this. I'm so entranced by this one little scene with the Baron, the cat.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember Drew telling me about, it's like, there's another movie. And it's like, what? There's another movie? Do you have this? It's like, sure. Can I borrow it? Sure. So literally,
I think it literally went more. It's like, do you need to borrow Whispers of the Heart? Yes, I do. So you borrowed it.
Yes.
And then literally you come over, we get ready to review. Says, by the way, didn't you say that there was a spinoff to this? I said, yes. Says, can I borrow it? I said, it's right there. And you went over and you watched it.
Yes. And I absolutely love this film. It's so good. Animation wise, beautiful. Story wise, great. Recommend it? Yes. Go watch this fun movie. I don't think you really necessarily have to know Whispers of the Heart.
You don't.
To watch this movie. Be like, unless it's just more like you see Fatso in it. This is like you call the character Fatso because he's called Fatso a lot.
The English dub is he's Fatso.
Yeah, he's Fatso.
Only on that last one. The rest of the time, I'll get more into that, but they don't really go into the Fatso thing that much.
Mm.
There is the one time where she calls him Muto.
Yeah, Muto.
Yes. Instead of Buto, which is the pig version in Japanese.
Yes, I've got that in my notes.
Okay.
Oh gosh. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great movie. Highly recommend. Go watch it. It's just, and Carrie Elways as the Baron, just like mwah, great.
Yes.
So
Excellent.
yes. So what? You, Drew?
This is my third viewing of this film.
I'm sorry. I mean, we'll get to that later.
I actually remember seeing this like on the very first, the trailers for this, like on the very first Studio Ghibli DVD. I think I rented from Netflix back when we used to get Netflix through the mail.
Mm-hmm.
I think technically you still can, but I don't. And I remember thinking this was an interesting looking story, but I didn't know what it was. And it was not until about 2018, 2019, somewhere in there, that I ended up buying this, not because we were doing it for the podcast at the time, but because this was just, there were Studio Ghibli movies available at Walmart. It's like, well, I better pick these up while I still can. And so I picked up The Cat Returns, Whispers of the Heart, and I think 2 or 3 others. I don't remember which ones right now. And The Cat Returns was the one I was the most interested in at the time, so I threw that one in. No, I'm sorry. I told you that wrong. I sent a picture of these to a friend of mine that I was going to go visit that weekend, and he said, his wife had seen all the others, but they hadn't seen Whispers of the Heart, so we went and we watched that movie.
So you watched it first.
We watched.
No, wait, we watched
Whispers of the Heart first, and then when I got home, I threw in The Cat Returns because I was curious the way Whispers of the Heart ends. In my mind, it's like, this is Cat Returns is supposed to be a sequel. How does this fit into that other story? And the answer is it doesn't.
Far superior.
So I watched it right after we watched Whispers of the Heart last year for the podcast, and of course I watched it earlier this week at my friend Chase's house.
Nice.
Because literally I get over there and I told him what we were reviewing this week. Says, dude, we gotta watch that tonight. I said, well, I wish you'd have told me. I would have brought it. So I went home and I brought it. So yeah, this is, I'm not going to say it's my favorite Ghibli movie, but I think it might be one of, because I think all the ones that Miyazaki did, I think most of those are going to top this one. But this is definitely in my upper half of Studio Ghibli films.
Nice.
So I do highly suggest people watch it, because this really scratches an itch I tend to forget I have. Maybe. But if we don't have anything else, why don't we go ahead and hit the bumpers, and then we will get to spoiling this thing.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Stunning and Brave, where each week hosts Chris Cowan of the Babylon Bee and Nate Henderson of Some Boring Budgeting Job confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right.
You have no choice.
Check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net.
The Cellcast would like to thank the following patrons: Josh Adams, Ashley Ruiz, Book of Gaming.
To get your name on the show, plus uncut episodes, early access to the Cellcast Plus reviews, and special art from Jacob, please donate to us on Patreon.
And yes, Paul, I do still need to add you to that list.
Oh, no
PaulJPowers.com.
worries. I was about to say that almost sounded like Dr. Claw there for a second.
Gee, I wonder why.
Zoinks! I mean, meow.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the movie The Cat Returns.
Meow.
Listener discretion is advised. The Cat Returns, or as it's known in Japanese, Neko no Onigashi, was directed by Hiroyuki Morita and written by Reiko Yoshida. Getting into the cast, we've got Haru being played by Anne Hathaway, who ironically, after this, would go on to star as Selena Kyle in The Dark Knight Returns.
Wow.
So the girl who got turned into a cat later became Catwoman.
Yes.
Baron Humpert von Geekigen, or just the Baron, was played by Carrie Elways, who is probably most well known as Wesley in The Princess Bride.
Mm-hmm. Excellent film.
Muta, also aka Ronaldo Moon, was played by Peter Boyle, and I know him mostly as the monster in Young Frankenstein, but he also plays Frank Barone in Everybody Loves Raymond, which honestly, this role is closer to Frank than the monster.
I got you.
Everybody loves Raymond.
Toto, the crow, was played by Elliot Gould, and he played Trapper John in the movie version of MASH.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Cat King was played by Tim Curry, and he played Cardinal Richelieu in The Three Musketeers.
Yes.
I missed which Three Musketeers that was, but
That was the Disney.
okay, the good one then.
Yeah.
The Disney
All right.
candy bar, yeah.
Yes.
The Disney candy bar.
Anyway, Prince Loon was played by Andrew Bevis, and he had nothing else on IMDb, so I did a little bit more looking up since the Wikipedia actually did have a link for him, which is odd in these instances. He is actually an Australian theater actor. And this was one of the few, this is like the only thing he did that was not like Australian theater.
Well,
Really?
good day, mate.
Exactly.
Yuki was played by Judy Greer, and she played Maggie Lang in Ant-Man. That's Scott's ex.
Yeah.
Ah.
Notori, who was kind of playing the evil Vizier cat, he was played by Rene Auberjonois, who I know mostly as Odo in Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Oh.
Yes.
Natoru, who was the very smiley, happy cat,
Oh gosh, that cat. Hi.
was played by Andy Richter,
Uh-huh.
who pretty much had to have been inspired by his role as Mort in Madagascar. You know, the little small fluffy one that was King Julian's brown noser.
Oh, okay. It's been a while since I've watched that movie.
We'll have to put that on the list.
Exactly. Check.
Naoko Yoshioka, which was Haru's mother, was played by Kristen Sutherland, and she played Joyce Summers in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Huh.
And Hiromi, her friend, was played by Kristen Bell, who played Korra in Astro Boy.
And
We'll get to that in our
you.
Kingdom Hearts connections.
Thank you for sparing us.
Because along with, like I said, she was Hiromi here, she played the character of Anna. I said the name right.
thank you.
Reprising her role from Frozen in Kingdom Hearts.
Awesome.
On a what? She's
I don't know
on a
Anna's
what?
last name.
No, but she's on. I thought you said she's on a what? on top of a what?
I don't even know how to jump off that one to continue the joke.
Oh.
Continuing on from there, Courtney Draper was additional voices in both. Bradley Pierce was additional voices in both. Robert Clotworthy was additional voices in both. Ned Lott was the English version casting director for both. And then in the Japanese version, Mitsuru Miyamoto, while he was additional voices for The Cat Returns, he played Simba in Kingdom Hearts 2.
Nice. Hakuna Matata.
Indeed. So that brings me to the end of our cast list. What do we got in info and stuff, Jacob?
All right, so info and stuff. All right, so IMDb has a 7.2 out of 10. If you are subscribed to HBO Max, it's available to you there.
While it's still there.
Yeah, while it's still there. Come on, HBO.
Well, Disney might snap it up. No, wait, they sold their rights, didn't they?
G Kids.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. All right, so production was by Studio Ghibli, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Distribution was by Toho, and then its English translation was by Disney, and then recently it was the distribution rights was done by G Kids.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so its original theatrical release was July 20th, 2002 in Japan, and it was released July 13th, 2005 here in the United States. So going on to box office. Its opening weekend for United States and Canada was $254,000 of that weekend. Its U.S. gross was fairly close with that, was $563,000. Its worldwide gross with that release was $54.5 million. And its overall gross between Japan and America and overall, it is grossed over $65 million in the box office. Its home release, the film was dubbed in English by Walt Disney Pictures for the release of the DVD on February 22nd, 2005, along with Nazca, the Valley of the Wind, Porco Rosso. Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment released the film on Blu-ray in the United States on June 16, 2015. G Kids re-released the film on DVD and Blu-ray on July 16, 2018. So that's all I have for info and stuff.
All right, getting into the summary. Haru is a shy but noble high school student who has suppressed an ability to talk with cats. One day, she saves the cat from being hit by a truck on a busy road. The cat she saves turns out to be Loon, Prince of the Cat Kingdom. I almost messed that one up. As a thanks, the cats give Haru gifts of catnip and mice. She is offered the prince's hand in marriage. Her mixed reply is taken as a yes. Wanting none of this, Haru hears a kind female voice which tells her to seek out Muta, a large white cat, and gets directions to the cat bureau from him. Muta leads him there to meet the Baron, which was the same Baron from Whispers of the Heart, who is a cat figurine given life by the work of his artist, and Toto, a stone raven who comes to life much like the Baron. Soon after meeting them, Haru and Muta are forcefully taken to the Cat Kingdom, leaving Toto and the Baron in the human world to follow the group from the air. They find the entrance to the Cat Kingdom on Earth, 5 lakes forming a cat's paw. How convenient. Haru is treated to a feast at the castle of the Cat King. She begins to slowly turn into a cat with tan paws, ears, nose, tail, and whiskers. For a second, she also gets fangs, though she still remains mostly human. The king hopes she will make a suitable bride for the prince, but at the feast, the Baron, in disguise, dances with Haru as part of the entertainment. He reveals to her that the more she loses herself in the kingdom, the more cat-like she will become, and that she has to rediscover her true self. When the Baron is discovered and forced to fight the guards, he and Haru are helped by Yuki, a white cat maiden in the palace who has previously tried to warn Haru to leave the Cat Kingdom. After Yuki shows them an escape tunnel, Haru, the Baron, and Muta move through a maze to a tower which contains a portal to Haru's world. The king goes through a series of efforts to keep them in the kingdom long enough for Haru to remain trapped in her cat form. His ultimate plan is still to force her to become his daughter-in-law. Prince Luna and the guards return to the Cat Kingdom, revealing the king was not acting on his behalf and that he planned on proposing to Yuki. Muta is revealed to be Ronaldo Moon, a notorious criminal in the kingdom, having devoured a whole lake of fish in one session. Haru learns that the strange voice who had advised her to go to the cat bureau was Yuki's. In her childhood, Haru had saved Yuki from starvation by giving her the fish crackers that she was eating, and thus Yuki has now repaid her kindness. After she rejects the king's marriage proposal outright, Muta tells Haru, "I respect a woman who stands up for herself," and proceeds to help her escape from the king's soldiers. Eventually, the Baron, Haru, and Muta escape the cat's realm with the aid of Prince Loon and Toto, and Haru discovers her true self, telling the Baron how much she has come to like him. He tells her the doors to the cat bureau will be open for her again if the need ever arises. Haru returns to the human world with more self-confidence after learning from her friend Hiromi that her former crush has broken up with his girlfriend. She simply replies, "It doesn't matter anymore."
I'm in love with the Baron.
Exactly. It's the doctor all over again. Getting into the trivia. This movie started when Studio Ghibli received a proposal from a Japanese theme park to make a 20-minute animation starring cats. This was originally going to be a short, straight-to-video project, but producer Toshio Suzuki was so impressed with director Hiroyuki Morita's storyboards, and especially the main character of Haru, that he encouraged planner Hayao Miyazaki to give this a cinematic release. So far, this is Studio Ghibli's only spin-off or sequel feature film. When every other cat in the human world and the cat kingdom has paws, the Baron has human-shaped hands covered in gloves and sporting long fingers and visible thumbs. He is also noticeably smaller in the human world, about 2/3 the size of an average cat. The attributes mirror these seen on the Baron figurine in Whispers of the Heart, 1995. One reoccurring joke in the original Japanese dub is that Muta keeps being mistakenly called Buta, which is Japanese for pig. Translators were unable to work this joke into the English dub. The nearest they came was for Haru to call him Muta and have him think she was calling him a cow. During the development stages, Studio Ghibli used this film as an opportunity to try out a younger director, aware that the studio needed to groom talent that could eventually succeed Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata. This is Peter Boyle's only English dub role for an anime film.
Really?
And both the Cat King and the Prince share the gene that causes two different color eyes, known as heterochromia. Which brings me to the end of the trivia. Paul, I'm going to start with you. What is your first like for this film?
My first like is that is the story itself. This is a fantasy story and the idea of cats talking and walking and having a land of their own. It's very similar to Alice in Wonderland, which I know in your last episode that your guest host Cody brought up about some of the other Studio Ghibli films. It's a lot like Alice going into another world. Like this one, instead of following a white rabbit, she follows a white cat into another world.
Rather large white cat.
Yeah,
large white cat
who speaks English or Japanese, depending on the version you watch. And so
speaks human, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, I like the fantasy story of it all.
All right. Jacob, what is your first like?
My first like is gonna lean like so heavily into Paul's. It's not even funny. The story in this movie is fantastic. It is a fantasy story, and so it is a world of felines. There again, I am a dog person, but this movie it is such a good movie, such a good storytelling. Where
you say that, but there was a dog at the
yes,
feast,
there was,
which we had no explanation for.
Yeah, a very large bull terrier.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, well, he wandered in like she did, maybe.
Maybe so.
Maybe you never know.
Maybe he's a spy for the cat.
You never know.
Dogland.
Yeah, I love the story of Haru as this awkward teenager that just happens to scoop up a cat that's about to get run over, and just stumbles into this world of cats, and the Baron and Muta and like the entire cast of characters is just wonderful. And you get into the world of cats and just the story, the laying of the story. It's not one of these like deep in depth, like goes to the bottom of the barrel and brings up all these great nuggets, but it's just a rich story that is so well done and so well done executed. that it's just the story is just I wouldn't say perfect, but it's just wonderful. It's wonderful. It's amazing. What's yours, Drew?
This is Doctor Who, but with cats.
Wow.
Oh,
I know that sounds strange, but
yes, please elaborate.
if you've ever watched Doctor Who, you know there's a couple of archetypes that seem to pop up over and over again. The Baron is I attribute as being essentially the Doctor, the hero who you're never quite sure what he's doing, but he has a plan about what's going on. Haru is the modern day human companion that, you know, she's the guide for the audience, that the eyes for the audience to see this whole crazy world. So she's a lot of her reason she is there, so we have a good reason to explain what's going on, except she's also a major portion of the plot, since this whole plot is revolving around her anyway. And Muto, I keep wanting to call him Muto. I blame Tenchi for that. But Muta he's a companion character also, but he's obviously more aware of what's going on. I'd say the same about Toto, but Toto doesn't do it. It is like barely in this film.
Would you say Howl's Moving Castle is also a Doctor Who kind of similar? Okay.
Kind of, but I think this more fits into. All you have to do really is change like character names, and I think this could be a Doctor Who episode.
Oh,
in many ways, this really feels like it's an episode of Doctor Who, and I will admit this might have been what. Like I said, this movie scratched an itch I forgot I had, and that was for Doctor Who, which might be why I started rewatching Doctor Who.
It all makes sense.
That does make sense.
This
is Dr. Meow.
It's just such a fun movie, you know, with all the stuff running around, and it's like a good fun adventure movie. You kind of are always like, even if you're a step ahead, there's always some little twist coming up. It's got a lot of great characters, but like I said, it feels like it's an episode of Doctor Who where somehow everyone is cats. So yeah, that's my first like.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Paul, what is your second like?
Well, I first watched this. I prefer to watch it in the original, so I watched this subbed, and I had some extra time because I think it's only like an hour and 10 minutes, 70 minutes.
Yeah, this is a very short film.
So I watched the dub. So first, before watching the dub, my second like was going to be one of the shocking things about this movie. If you're going into a Studio Ghibli movie, the character designs are more rough than the soft, round faces that you see by Hayao Miyazaki, the character designs. But I was going to say, like, the animation, the fluid, how the characters move, and especially how the cats move. And, like, when they're chasing mice, it's very realistic. It's very good animation. But then I watched the dub version, and oh my gosh, Carrie Elways has such a great voice in this.
Yes.
That, it's tragic to me that he didn't do more voice over acting work, especially when he was younger, and had that great accent of his. And it's so rich, and it's so. I usually prefer the acting of the original of the Japanese, because usually the acting. The range of the voice actors in Japanese has a much it's more dramatic normally, but the dub of this, I was impressed. Not just Carrie, but all the actors, the American actors and English actors that helped contribute to this. I was impressed by the dub version, but Carrie always just brings it up to a whole, not another level, but a whole other level of the atmosphere. It's like, oh man, we just needed more of him back then. I don't know why we didn't. Maybe it's because he wanted to play more villainous roles, but he is so great as the hero.
Agreed.
So Carrie always stole my second like, and it became.
Jacob, what's your second like?
Okay, so I wanted to go back to your first like for a second. So you're talking about how almost comparing Doctor Who with The Cat Returns or Ghibli in general. Okay, so who would be like in this movie? Be like, who would be the comparison to Captain Jack?
Ronaldo Moon.
Yes, thank you. That's all I needed.
Captain Jack Sparrow
No,
Captain
Harkness.
Harkness.
from.
Doctor
Doctor
Who.
Oh, okay, sorry. I've only seen one episode of Doctor Who, so.
Oh, okay.
That's fair.
Fair. So going into my second like, I think there's a mind meld going on between me and Paul here because Carrie Ellis stole this movie.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I freaking love his performance.
Yeah.
I mean, like he just steals every single scene, and it's just this proper higher British. I can't even do it because there again, I'm not British. I'm American.
And he does it just with his voice. I don't know how he
Exactly.
does it. It's incredible.
I would love to see some footage of him in the recording booth.
Oh,
during
it's
this.
hilarious.
I still haven't watched the extras on the disc.
It is hysterical. The scene where the Baron is fighting off the guard protecting Haru, and he's beating him off with his cane. And Haru leans like, "Oh, your cane." He's like, "Oh, it's Brent." Be like, "I was needing another one." I'm like, "Perfect." Oh my gosh. Be like, Carrie Ellis has always been a fantastic actor, and like what I've seen him in, he is fantastic. He is a wonderful actor. Be like, I may disagree with him politically, but as an actor, I freaking love his performance as the Baron, the cat. Whatever, I'll be like, however you pronounce his real name.
There's a reason I just call him the Baron.
The Baron,
Yes.
because it's such a long name.
And the way they pronounce in the Japanese version, it's like, oh, yeah, I can kind of see that. But when Carrie Elwes pronounces it, it just rolls off the tongue beautifully. I don't know how he did it, but it was perfect.
Yes.
It's like, oh, it's German. Okay.
Exactly. It's so well done. It'll be like his performance knocks it out of the park. But like, yeah, of course, it'll be like this. The cast in this movie is so well done. Be like, you have a bunch of amazing actors at the time, and what am I saying? They were great actors in their day, and even today they're great actors and actresses. And just Carrie Ellis just holds this movie on his performance on a pedestal and just brings it. And you love every single moment the Baron is on screen, and it's just like, dude, you're awesome. As I think it's like one of the cats to be like, dude, he's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
This is it. Be like Carrie Ellis' performance as the Baron. He's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Drew.
It's no wonder Haru has a crush on him and everyone else thinks he's cool.
Oh yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
My second like is going to be the backgrounds in the real world sections
Oh.
Okay.
because they are
that's-
so beautifully drawn.
Agreed.
They're complex, but yet they never feel like they're noisy, if that makes any sense. It's what I call apparent minimalism, where it's made up of a lot of complex structures, but when you look at it, it sticks in your mind like it's minimalism.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderfully, they all look pretty amazing and beautiful, and that town, even when they go to the bureau itself, is all of that area is still just drop dead gorgeous with its designs. I wonder if to some degree they stuck with that because this is kind of in the same universe as Whispers of the Heart, kind of.
Yeah.
And so they had the look of that city to go off of, which was a more realistic take than most Ghibli stuff is.
Yeah.
But I loved just how real, in a sense, the real world actually felt in this, just because of how well the background artist did.
Yeah. Speaking of backgrounds, I wondered if you noticed this. First of all, the Japanese, when they pronounce English words, they often get the R and the L's mixed up.
Yes.
Because that's hard for them in their natural tongue.
I think it's either the L or the R. I don't remember which is not. I think it's the L is not a native sound in their language.
Right.
I think it's the problem. So that's why it gets messed up.
Right. So when Haru is told to meet the white cat at the crossroads, in the background, she's walking through the marketplace, and there are flags that say, for most of the movie, cross loads with an L. except
I
for
did see that.
one scene. It's like 5 seconds long. The L is changed to an R, and it actually says Crossroads. And then this is towards the end, but then
Yeah.
and then later it's changed back to Crossloads. So they got it right. It's funny. It's something to look
Yeah.
out for in the background, how that
Nice.
changes depending on. But it's funny.
All right. Paul, do you have a third like? I don't know if I actually told you to do 3 or not, but
No, you didn't. But
my apologies.
No, you can. I mentioned before that I had 3, but Curie always took that one. So I'll go back to how I was impressed how well this was animated. Like I said, it's the character designs are a bit rough, but you get used to it kind of quickly. And I'm impressed by the fluid movement of the characters. As an animation buff that I am, I love the animated movies. And no, animation is not a genre because they're all different genres.
Yeah,
within.
it's a medium.
Yes. And some do not move realistically. And this, I was impressed by the way the movements of the characters. I'll tell you, here's a bonus one for you. The King's security guards, the black and white cats that look like they have suits on, like they're the
Yeah, the cats in black.
Yes, yes, like they're protecting the president with the Secret Service, but they're black and white. The fur on it looks like suits, and the way
they're
they behave
tuxedos
and everything. It's fun. That was a fun thing to watch.
Yeah.
And when the cats clap, they don't clap like humans. They have like puffy mittens or something. It sounds
right.
So tiny little details like that make it more fun.
All right, Jacob, do you have a third?
My third, it kind of there again, be like there's a psychic connection going on here, Paul.
Hey, we know animation.
Exactly. The animation when you see the cats on parade when they're bringing the king cat.
The Cat King.
Cat King. Thank you.
He's never given a name besides
No, it's
Cat
just
King.
Cat King.
Yeah.
Played beautifully by
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry. Oh my god!
And I will give Tim Curry this. It's not until like near the end that it's obvious that it's Tim Curry.
Yeah.
I didn't know till afterwards. So yeah, that's true.
There's a couple of lines there when he gets like angry and excited that it's like, oh, there's Tim Curry.
The Curry popped out.
Yes. Now I see him, like in that FMV Command and Conquer game where he's like going mad and crazy, talking about going to space. Anyway.
Whenever I think Tim Curry, I think Toxic from Fern Gully. That's who I think.
Oh
of. Yeah. But like that animation scene where the cat's in parade when they're bringing the Cat King up, be like it's so like incredible how they had to have studied like cat movement for how long, like. It's literally how they walk. Be like, if they walk, they literally have to re-step.
Yeah.
Like every frame. And it's just like, that is dedication. That is just like detail beyond belief. And
some of it looks rotoscoped,
it does
how
look
well
rotoscoped.
detailed it was. Yeah,
it does look rotoscoped.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like how the cats, like when they, become, human-like, it's like how, be like you said, be like how they move their hands.
Yeah.
Be like how they, like everything. It like their performance is like a cat, but more like it's just the subtle details of how they make them, move like an actual cat and not be like, let's try to modify this to make them walk like a human. And it's just so well done. It's just like animation wise, just beautiful. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's my third like. What like in a cat?
Jumping off of that, this is not my third like, but
Okay.
I want to add this to yours.
Okay.
Have you ever seen it when the cats kind of stand like up on their hind legs?
yeah.
And how that what's interesting as I thought was every time the cats were, standing like humans, they actually kind of looked like that.
Yeah.
Like prairie dogs, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
So I appreciate. I just wanted to throw that on there to go with that. But my third like is Haru's character design overall. I I like how because we see her, as normal human, and then like half cat, and then 3/4 cat, and almost cat until at near the end where she's human again, and then we see that last shot of her where they drew her more grown up, which I appreciated the added look of maturity there. But I like how in all of these forms she's still recognizable. This would be so easy for them to have just designed a new form and said that's Haru, and you couldn't tell like how one got to the other. And I've seen some stuff do that, but I appreciate how this, like, you could tell it's like it's Haru from one end to the other. And I appreciated that consistency in there, because you could see how she morphed from human to cat. So yeah, I enjoyed that.
And this was kind of bounce off what you just said about Haru herself. Be like her progression as a character. You start off this character who doesn't really has no confidence in herself whatsoever, and she's nervous, and she can't get up on time. And it's I think it's her more interaction with the Baron as a character, and her experience in the world of cats, that you see this growth as a person, and her experience as a cat. And you see this at the end of the film, where Haru be like, her mother wakes up, she's like, oh, I woke up late, and there's Haru being the adult, be like she is
matured.
She's matured. She is very much.
She's not really grown up. She's still the same age, but but she's holding herself differently.
Yeah, exactly. It's that confidence which the Baron is kind of bestowed upon her. It's like trust in yourself, believe in yourself. And being someone for the longest time did not believe in themselves, be like that's something that kind of hit home a little bit for me. And I really appreciate that when they do that with characters, because there's a lot of times in some animated films or TV shows, it's literally you see a character growth about this much, and you have a movie that's an hour and a half, you have such a monumental shift of character growth,
and they're still pretty much the same character they started as.
Yeah, exactly. Where in this film, go ahead.
To be fair, I am usually the same character I am an hour and a half ago.
True, but this is taking place over the course of at least 12 hours.
Right. All right. I'm the same as I was 12 hours ago.
And then a lot of the ones he's talking about, it's like years and months and years have gone past, and they're growing maybe an inch in maturity.
Yeah. Talking about you, Ash.
Hey, he's the world Pokemon champ again.
Oh, I thought you were talking about his girlfriend. Okay, good. Thank you.
I do call her Ash every once in a while.
Yes, but that's not what he was referring to.
Not Ash Ketchum.
Anyway.
Quick, let's get out of that one quick.
Yeah,
Paul, what is your first dislike of this film?
Okay. I thought this was confusing. Now, I will say, after watching, this is the first time I watched this film, the first time in the Japanese language, and then the second, and I was surprised how much I liked it better the second time. I understood a little bit more, but one thing that I found confusing, especially the first time, was the character of Yuki, the white cat that tries to help Haru. She's this mysterious voice that tells Haru to go to the bureau, but why? At first it seems like the cats from the Cat Kingdom are bad, so all right, tell Haru to get, cats from the Cat Kingdom are bad, you need help to get out of that. But then the prince wants to marry Yuki instead of Haru, so then suddenly the cats are okay, and it was like, oh, the bad cats are now okay, or what is her motivation here? Or is Yuki, the white cat, just trying to help Haru away from her fiance? Like, hey, that's my man, I gotta get her and push her out. Basically, her whole motivation, to me, is very confusing. It's like, what's going on here? Why is she doing, why is she telling her to go to the bureau to get away out of the Cat Kingdom? What? That was...
So the only way I can even touch on this is the simple fact that the only quote unquote bad cat I would say would be the Cat King.
Sure.
He got his direct cronies with Odo and Andy Richter. I can't think of the characters' names right now.
Right. Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, all the people who work in the palace who are having out of duty are serving him, but maybe the people are not exactly are more kind because they're having to live under his totalitarian-esque rule, and they're hoping the prince will be a better king.
Don't you mean Paul? Don't you mean Paul? Paul?
Is that my new nickname as a cat?
I'm trying to figure out where I should have said paw, and you went.
You were going for like under his thumb, but I was like, no, it's a paw.
I never said under his thumb.
But either way.
The reason why I can't remember Andy Richter and Odo's character's name is one is Natoru and the other is Natori.
Yeah, so I want to call them both Naruto. Believe it.
Oh gosh.
So that's why I still think, it's Odo and Andy Richter.
Yeah, it's easier that way. Yes.
But that's my only defense on what you were bringing up there is
it's kind of frustrating. It's like, maybe she's this Obi-Wan Kenobi kind of mystical thing that she's going to help her, but no, I'm here to marry the prince instead. I get to marry the prince instead. I don't know. It's
Plus,
confusing to me.
She did kind of owe Haru for saving her back in the day,
which I thought was a great callback. I love that tie back where they brought that backstory in, and it was all a good circle. But why I needed more as
what I would actually like to know is, how did Yuki tell her this? Was she watching Haru from like above the drain pipe?
Sure.
Does she have some kind of weird telepathy connection? What's going on?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Can she go between both worlds?
Yeah,
well, I mean,
I think all the cats
go.
can.
Yeah, but they can only go technically through that one portal.
Well, then how did they come in through? I assume that they can roam free, just like out of the bureau. Those characters can roam free, and just like the people can, they just don't know how to get into those entryways. That's the whole parade of cats come in, with the king.
Right.
They can roam to and fro. I thought
it's not really explained. You just have that one little contrivance at the end where the only way we can leave is to go through this one portal that's at the top of this tower.
Yeah.
So
how does there's different ways in, but only one way out. I don't know.
And supposedly that's the way they came back in when they kidnapped Haru. So
yeah.
Or would that be catnapped?
Yes. Cat burglared.
Anyway.
Cat burglared.
Jacob, what's your first dislike?
My first dislike would be the explanation of how they escape from the world of cats. Is because they have to. I can't remember what characters. I think it's the Baron who says, or someone had to say. I can't remember who it was, but you had to. The only way to get back to Haru's world is to get to the tower.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Yuki said that.
Yeah, to get the way to the top of the tower, and it's like because it connects with the world at some point. But when the tower collapsed,
it brought it down lower.
Yeah,
or they said it moved.
It moved.
Yeah, the entrance point moved.
Right.
And so now it's
like
like
super high in the air.
Yeah, It makes for a great scene, but I'm like, okay, that's the only way out.
Yep.
And which
means it's going to be like, how many birds are going to fly in through that thing where the portal opening is now?
Exactly.
Well, maybe it's an exit only. They bump into it like a window, like birds do.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, so there was a little. I wasn't confusion. It was just more like, okay, so like it makes for a great scene, but like story wise, it's like, huh? It was like you said, like Paul said a little bit, like with the stray kitten in which Haru rescued when she was a kid. And be like, I think I tracked it I think I may have tracked it a little better than you, Paul. Maybe a little bit. But there again, sometimes we either or. I'm sticking my paw in my mouth.
No, I understand, because if the Baron can fly in through a crow, like to the land of the five
Right.
lakes that looks like a paw and just be dropped
Right.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's like following those lights, like that was like a wormhole, like a shortcut. So
Yeah.
you don't have to take the shortcut. You can get in there. But I assume until they had mentioned that, like Jacob is saying, that's all how you get out. You could walk out if you want, just like you could walk in. But apparently, no. It seems contrived for story. Like they had to create drama for unknown reasons. Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost feels like they hadn't really thought about how you move back and forth between the worlds.
Yeah, and then
It's
last
just-
minute,
it's just
let's
they-
put it up at the hardest place to reach.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
bring even more tension and like excitement to the film.
Especially if the reason they dropped Haru in the the village at the very beginning was because Muto was too heavy. That's still an awful long fall that should have injured at least her. I can give maybe Muto
Well, it's part
landed
of
on
a
his feet
cat-like
'cause he's cat,
reflexes.
but she's not cat yet, so she
Not
still
yet.
technically should be injured
Yeah.
by that fall if it's from the height of the top of the tower.
Yeah.
Well, that's true.
But anyway,
But the cats land on their feet, which is what I was wondering when the king had them thrown out the window. It's like, oh, they'll arrive safe, they'll land
Yeah.
safely, right?
maybe.
Maybe. Like even the princess be like, I want to spend the rest of our 9 lives together. I'm
Right.
like, so it's kind of like the teaser trailer for Puss in Boots' new movie. It's like
nice.
apparently Puss in Boots he's on his 9th life that he's trying to live is his one last wish.
That's
It's like, how many times it'd be like, it's like, okay, you got thrown out the window. Oh, you survived this. It's like, but I gotta face the king again. Like, how many lives am I gonna waste with this guy? Just saying.
It actually raises an interesting question about the Shrek universe. Has Puss in Boots not actually died and then played that joke yet? Did they really wait this long for that joke?
I don't know.
It's just a thought that occurred to me. Sorry. All right.
You have to rewatch
that was-
and find out.
Maybe.
Exactly.
Well, we're working our way
Yeah,
through that
we'll work
slowly
through
but
'em.
surely anyway.
All right.
But my first dislike. So as much as I liked the backgrounds in the real world,
Yes.
they're kind of lacking when we get to the cat world.
Well, sure. Maybe that's part of it. It's distinct how they distinguish it from the real world. It's more fantasy-like.
And I get that, but it's because you do get a more realism in the real world, not fakeness, but more of a fairy tale feel in the cat world.
Sure.
But still, a part of me was thinking you could still have detail in some of these shots.
Yeah, but they
But it
have
really
a
does feel
deadline
like-
to meet.
It feels like we're being thrown into like an illustration in a book kind of a thing, which
Yeah.
is cool and all, but it's like, I wish what it comes down to is I wish there wasn't a feeling of whiplash when you move between worlds.
I see. Yeah.
I wish if you're gonna have this, you need to give a little more realism maybe to the cat kingdom and maybe a little more fantasy to the real world.
I think what it is, I don't mind the vast differences. Like it can be stark different as far as styles and everything.
Yeah.
But when one style looks lazy compared to the other, then that's an issue.
Yeah. And admittedly, this is still good. It's just you
It's
go
not
from
as-
like
Yeah, you're comparing it to the previous part of the movie.
yeah, and that's the problem. I mean,
Right.
I just wish there was more of a not a continuation because it is supposed to be two separate worlds, but more of a. I want it to stay a little bit more in motif, even though they're two entirely separate things, because I want the two universes to feel somewhat connected, even though they aren't. If that makes sense.
It's like they're different lands, but they belong in the same world, and they don't.
Right.
look
If
like
you're
they're in
going
the
to
same
have
world.
if you're going to have
understand that.
human Haru look so much the same as she did in the real world,
Yeah.
because she's still the same character model they were using there. I feel like there should be more of a it really makes her stick out more at that point. I don't know. It's just a weird little motif thing. It's probably I know what they were doing, and I think for the most part they succeeded. I just wish there was more I wish they'd have done just a little bit better, if that makes sense. This is really more of a nitpick.
Yeah, it makes
I'll
sense.
admit, but yeah. So, Paul, what is your second dislike?
All right, in this movie, they make a big deal about how has to make it back before dawn, but otherwise she's gonna stay permanently a cat.
Mm-hmm.
So then they look at the exit, and the exit already has a bright blue sky. And I'm thinking, well, it's way past dawn. It looks mid-morning, maybe even afternoon. I don't know, but that is a bright blue sky. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Maybe I'm wrong. When technically is dawn? So I looked it up, and dawn begins right when the sun is seen at the horizon. So if anybody who
From
has
ground
seen
level, right?
At what? Eye level?
When you're at ground level?
Correct. Or wherever you are, wherever the sun, you can see the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if anyone has ever seen a sunrise, you know it gradually gets brighter right before the sun hits, and then it becomes even more bright. So before dawn, before the sun actually appears and you can see it, it's not bright, but it is light, but not like they were showing. So that really flew me for a loop. I was like, when I first saw, like, well, she's a cat. Like, it's done. Time's up. Sorry,
you're be licking fur for the rest of your life, girl.
So
tough luck.
So I may have another little defense to throw at this.
Go for it.
First off, dawn where? Is it dawn at the portal from where the portal is seeing out? Is it dawn from?
Well, it's
the town.
It's never dawn at the Cat Kingdom. It's always
I know
wherever
it's
the portal.
right.
I assume wherever the portal is.
But my question is, the thing is, when they said that the portal was, in the Cat Kingdom was up high at the top of this tower.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, when we saw that portal, when the Baron, I think, got thrown into it there at the beginning, or right before, we got to see the Cat Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
That was almost down there by the lake. So it almost looked like when the tower fell and the portal moved in the real world, it went up high. I may be reading too much into that, but
I don't.
So in my mind, it's like, you get up higher, the light may be granted from that angle, it should be a little darker. I will grant you.
Yes.
It should be a lot darker from that angle, but maybe they were thinking it's up higher, so maybe the sun is going to be hitting it at a different, sunlight will be hitting it at a different angle.
I see what you're saying. Well, that's a lot.
But that's a lot of rationalization. I will grant you.
Yeah. So anyway.
Yeah.
I thought they could have made that sky a little darker. Not a little, but like at least half darker if they wanted to portray that.
Right.
Fair.
Yeah. Granted, once we actually get out into the real world, I think the daylight is done better for that time of morning. But at that moment, when you're looking up through the portal, it's like, oh, it's too late.
Yeah. The sun has come out.
And it's morning. And now Haru is stuck as a cat forever. This is going to be hard to explain at the next physical at school. Okay, Jacob, what is your next dislike?
My second dislike, this is more of a nitpick. The animation style of this movie is beautiful. The art style itself is wonderful. It just, like, this is an extreme nitpick. I know this.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't know this was a Studio Ghibli movie, I would thought this was just another anime.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't really have that charm and whimsical, like, it's a fantasy movie, but it doesn't have that, like, Ghibli Miyazaki feel as a film. Like, it obviously has connection with the Ghibli world, but it doesn't technically feel like it's part of the world.
I mean, you do get a difference between the Miyazaki Ghibli films and the rest of the Studio Ghibli films, as we've seen, because Miyazaki uses like one general art style, while the rest of Isao Takahata and The
True.
couple of other ones, they tend to have more varied art styles that they use.
I agree.
The only one I think of that of the others that uses more of Miyazaki's general look, I think actually was Grave of the Fireflies. But that's, I think, more just because of the time maybe they were trying to go for a more studio style at the time, and it's just Miyazaki kept with that style. I don't know if that's what happened, but
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, there again, it's just more like, observation. And it just kind of looked like, there again, if I didn't know this was a Ghibli film, I would have thought it's like, oh, it's just an nerd anime. But because there again, I think with like anybody be like, you think Studio Ghibli, you think Hayao Miyazaki in general. So like you see this movie, it's just like, is this the Ghibli film? It's a Ghibli movie, but it's just more, it throws you for a little bit.
It is different.
It is different. It is different. It doesn't have that whimsical like you're used to with a Ghibli film, but it's still an amazing film. So that was just an observation of mine.
So my second dislike is, why is this not a pilot movie for like an anime series?
Thank you.
Because I would watch the crap out of an anime series based on this concept.
Exactly. Give us
There's a
more
lot of
Baron.
world building that this 70 little minute film does.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, my last dislike, because I couldn't come up with a third. Why is there not more of this? I actually looked, because there is a manga, but the manga is an adaptation of the movie, and they didn't make any more of it. It's like, why? This was a perfect setup for a show. I get that maybe Studio Ghibli, this was not like in Studio Ghibli's idea of doing things, because they have done a few shows, but they haven't done a lot of them. But why is there not a TV show based on this? Why didn't you partner with, say, another studio to use these character models and make a show based on this concept? This would have been a great idea for a show, and that's why Doctor Who does so good.
It might be a great way to train up young animators who graduate into the movie part.
Exactly. Talk about a way of grooming directors.
Yeah.
To replace your aging staff.
Which is what they wanted to do with this, right?
Right. So why is there not a TV show where you could make a little bit of money on this? I don't know. Did this not do well in Japan? I mean, what happened?
It did good. It did very good.
Why is there not? I get my maybe Takahata or Miyazaki may not have wanted to make a series if they were directing it, but why did they not have like a division, just like put this out on, like, I don't know, TBS or something? Not American TBS, or TV Tokyo. We'll say TV Tokyo. This would have been a great show, like for like one of these channels, especially since this is like at the middle of the anime boom at the time. So I don't know.
You'll have to talk to the board of directors of that.
Yeah, maybe so. Paul, do you have a third dislike?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with Jacob a little bit about Haru's character growth. I understand that she could feel more confident at the end because of the direction. I agree with that from the Baron. But when she goes from having a hard time waking up in the morning to all of a sudden now she's cooking breakfast and ready to go, and that's too much of a stretch, at least for my personal experience. I like that's too far. Like I know you want to show character growth, but you just grew her way forward. Like
for what happens in this, yes, I will agree.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen a couple of times where they've done that as a joke, where it's like, you're not, who are you and what have you done with Haru, kind of a shtick,
right?
Where it's like the next day, but there's usually a lot more between point A and point B that lets you know how, at least for the audience, how we got there.
Agree. So that was too much of a push forward for me at the end.
I got you. Fair enough. My third and final dislike of this film, there again, it's one of those where it's like, plot, what happened here? So we like, obviously the Baron and what's the crow's name?
Toto.
Toto. Yeah.
Oh, the crow's name.
Yeah. Toto. So Toto and the Baron are like left adrift. They don't know how to get into the world of cats. Allegedly.
Well, I mean, they were following
They're following the light.
the magic sprinkles, but
Yeah. The magic sprinkles.
Yeah.
the kitty litter. Okay.
The kitty litter. But it's like it's a wonderful scene in which where they're at the king's court, and they're having the feast, and Haru's all upset, and the king is like entertainer, and then the masked figure, obviously it's the Baron, shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how did the Baron get there? It's a cool scene. It's like he just walks in with swagger and just like he's cool kind of scene.
I can answer this question.
But how did he get there?
Wibbly wobbly timey wimey. Okay, this is Doctor Who. I'm sorry. This is Doctor Who logic. It's just it happens.
It does happen. I agree.
To some degree, it's like maybe don't think about it too hard when the Baron was not the focus character at this point.
According to the movie that I watched twice, it just seemed like the crow dropped them off just later because they didn't take the shortcuts.
I don't know.
That's what it seemed like to me, but again, maybe you can like walk in there if you had enough time. But you just can't get out.
Like we said earlier, there's not a lot of thought process that went into how you move from one world to the other.
They didn't do the TV series. It's like
they didn't have everything fleshed out.
Well, yeah, I mean, in my mind, you don't necessarily have to go back to the Cat Kingdom until like much later on, because I'm still thinking of it as a problem of the week type show. But like Doctor Who is pretty much.
Yeah, just imagine the like if you had a young girl that was just like cat crazy and stumbled into the world of cats. It's like, oh no, be like, we're all gonna get squished to death.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Wow.
It could also be that. Oh no, that wouldn't make sense either. Never mind. Because technically, the Baron, while he is cat shaped, he's not actually
he's
a cat. He's a doll.
Yeah.
But anyway,
he's a cat plushie.
Well, not quite a plushie. It's a China doll. But moving on. So, we on your dislike now?
Yeah, my dislike. What's yours? Or do you have?
I should have switched that. Anyway, I don't have a third dislike.
Okay.
Because I do kind of like this movie. It's a fun movie. So yeah, I don't have much. I may be not being very critical of it, but when I was sitting down and looking at the sheet of paper, thinking, "What on earth is my third dislike going to be?" I decided, well, this is just going to be one where I don't have one. It happens from time to time.
If you want to, I have a few that I could throw in there.
Oh, sure. If you
go ahead.
Go right ahead.
The king in at least the English version is a lot more creepy because he's adding babe at the end of everything, and he's more sleazy. He's in the Japanese version. At the end, it's like when he finds out that Haru is available, it's like, oh, well then, how about joining with me rather than, hey, I'm a sleazy guy. I've been wanting you near me the whole time. And I found that I thought the degradation of that character between translations was a bit was a bit much. It pushed the character more in that direction in the English translation. And I thought that was a little more degrading towards someone who is royal and is the Japanese culture is more respected, and there's a reason for that, rather than this, hey babe, how about we go over here or whatever.
Right.
So that was jarring for me. So there's a bonus one.
Alrighty. Anything else before we jump into rating this?
I did have another, but we can go later.
If you got it, go ahead and say it.
No, I can't remember it.
Oh,
okay, well, never mind.
So I'll just say, Paul, what are you rating this film?
I rate The Cat Returns a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay.
Which is, above, just slightly above, the middle of the road average. It's well done, but it's not this great, oh, you've got to check this out.
Right. Jacob?
I will rate this a little higher. It's an 8.5 to me. Even though there's like plot points where it's like, huh? What the heck? Were they on catnip? Did they not like flesh out this world? But like story-wise, it's very well done. be like, Carrie Ellis as the Baron is fantastic. Best cat. I wouldn't say best cat, but he's like
No, he's not Gigi.
No, he's not Gigi. Let's say that he's not Gigi, but he is best doll cat. Let's say that.
All right.
But yeah, 8.5 to me, incredible film. I want to buy this and put it in my collection. And watch it again because I just love this movie. Yes, it has problems. It has plot problems. It has how in the world do all these characters get into the world of cats? It's just like, explain this to me, but we can't explain it. And plus, there's no series.
Exactly.
It's magic. That's how.
That is true. It's Ghibli magic.
Yeah, they don't explain Totoro. Why should they explain the Cat Kingdom?
That is true.
Well, except Totoro, you could kind of explain away as being this mystical spirit. This is just like the cat world that we made up the entire logic behind, but we're not going to tell you any of it.
See, cats really do. Cats really do talk. They just don't want to talk to you. That's all.
Yeah. Oddly enough, cats, they've done studies that like cats really don't talk to each other. They only talk around humans. Apparently, they just meow in front of people because it gets their attention.
Oh,
but it's still you still hear cats, fight and they that kind of thing. But understandably, cats be like when they're around humans, they normally meow and whatever because it's like humans be like, oh, that's a cat, so they just do it around humans. Apparently,
you didn't know this.
Huh?
Maybe they figure this out, and maybe it has to do with the invention of the universal translator. But this is how Dr. T'Ana comes aboard,
We'll get to that here in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
still have to rate this one.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm actually going to rate it an 8.
Okay.
I still enjoy this movie, and it's a fun one to watch, and I think it is one of my favorites from a very subjective point of view. There are a lot of other movies, a lot of other Studio Ghibli movies, even if you're not including Miyazaki, but a lot of other animated movies out there that are just better films. So I kind of feel like this has to come down a little bit.
Okay.
But because it's not at the quality of those films.
Fair.
But at the same time, it's one that's highly enjoyable. It's a good, fun adventure. And I think it really does feel like this is a pilot for a show that never got made. And that's kind of what I really am more put out with. But and I don't know why I didn't switch that back over. But anyway, that brings us to the end of this. So we need to jump into our review of the Star Trek Lower Decks episodes.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Robotech.
So before we get into this, Paul, I am curious, have you watched any of Star Trek Lower Decks before this?
I saw season 1 when it first came out. I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this a try. And I'm not a fan of how should we say, the more irreverent cartoons. Kind of like I saw one episode of Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty, Dr. Pickle, whatever.
The
it's
search
not
for
for me.
Szechuan sauce.
Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? I saw the first episode of the first season. Like, all right, I'll give it a try. And I didn't really like the hey, Mariner just like, you know, screw you guys, I'm number one, forget you, her attitude of that. But I got to the end and it seemed to get a little bit better. So I had just watched just season 1, and then when I found out I was coming on with you guys to review a couple of episodes of season 2, I was like, all right, I'll watch from the beginning of season 2 to whatever this is. Well, this is the end of season 2. So this last week I binge watched this season. I think there's only 10 episodes. Or
it's only 10 episodes per season.
But I didn't want to get, if there's any lagging stories in between, like Boimer going, you know, to the Titan, I want to be aware of these things.
Right.
Not that it really matters, you know, because they reference things all the time that just go over your head and you're like, oh, well, moving forward, it doesn't really matter that much. You can kind of get the drift. But
well, there is an ongoing story. It's just in the background of what's going on.
Right. So I could say, like Jacob, I have seen up to this point in this series. I have not seen season 3 yet, but I will say that watching season 2, I've come to like this. I think it's gotten better as the show has moved along. So I'm really starting to grow attached to these characters and like them. So,
all right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the first episode we're reviewing tonight, which the title is in Klingon. And I think it's pronounced Wedge Dudge.
Sure, we'll go with that.
We'll go with that. It is directed by Bob Suarez and written by Catherine Lynn. In this episode, according to IMDb, the Boimler tries to find a bridge buddy while the USS Cerritos crew has downtime during a long warp trip. And that is so little of what is actually going on in this episode.
I was about to say that was a minor point.
That was a minor story, because the rest of this is watching all the other lower deck crews on the other ships.
Yeah, the Klingons, the Vulcans. The best was the end credit ones.
What were you saying, Paul?
I said the best was the end credit ones. And
yes.
Yes.
And I won't say what that is, but it's a fun.
I'll mention it here in just a second.
It's hilarious.
The guest cast for this episode, and man, there's a lot of them. I do have to start off with Fred Tatasciore, who normally plays Shax, who is a normal character, but he also played 2 different Klingon officers in this episode. Robert
is the limit.
Yeah, Robin Atkin Downs played an older Klingon officer and the Klingon first officer Tog, who got killed right after we had met him.
Okay, yeah.
John Curry played Ma'a, who was the Klingon lower decker who was the captain by the end of this episode of that ship. Colton Dunn played Klingon Captain Dorg, who was the villain of this particular episode. Rich Fulcher reprises his role as Rebnar from the 2 or 3 episodes ago.
So, yeah.
He's also the voice of the Pac-led computer and many of the Pac-led lower deckers. Mark Evan Jackson is the voice of Vendome, who is the Vulcan who is available to play chess. Joy Bernson played Shara, who is the Vulcan unable to play chess. Nolan North voiced Sokol, the Vulcan commander. And Gabrielle Ruiz was introduced in this episode as Talin. I say introduced because
I was about to say she did well. I won't go into season 3, but it seems like she's gonna be a future character.
She does not have a major role in season 3. I will tell you that much. But it looks like she will in season 4. Jessica Lowe played Tagai, the female Hawaiianer.
Sure, who's really
Hawaii?
a lunar?
Yeah.
Sure.
And then Carl Tart, of course, played Lieutenant Kayshawn. The episode's title in Klingon translates to 3 ships, which is weird because there's actually 4 ships.
Yes. I was
Anyway.
just thinking that.
The title card presents the title in Klingon script This is the first Star Trek episode title to begin with a lowercase letter and the first not to be written on the title card in a non-Latin alphabet.
Nice.
Series creator Mike McKayen originally planned to have the opening credits of the episode appear in both Klingon and Vulcan, but was unable to do so due to the time and expense it would have added.
Oh, that would have been amazing. Just have it all in, all three, because it's 3 ships.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
This is the first episode of the franchise that features a scene played during the end credits. So far, I think only. Talen quotes Spock in this episode from Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, saying that logic is the beginning of wisdom, not the end. Ironically, her headband resembles the one worn by Valeris in that movie.
Yes.
Sokol, the captain of the Cheval, has a meditation lamp that has a copy of the one Kishara, copy of the one Spock had in his quarters. Dr. Ta'ana's rock climbing holodeck program is reminiscent of James T. Kirk climbing El Capitan at the beginning of Star Trek V: The Final Frontier, as was Boimler's Go Climb a Rock shirt and hover boots. Captain Freeman's Ritos t-shirt echoes the disco t-shirts worn on Star Trek Discovery when they're off duty and exercising. The Pac-led puppet master, who was previously sought by the USS Titan away team in Case Sean, His Eyes Open, was revealed in this episode to be Klingon Captain Dorg. Dorg quotes William Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war, the same line, along with many other lines from Shakespeare, that was quoted by General Chang in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, of course said in their original Klingon.
Yes.
While playing Clue, Mariner casually mentions the sniper rifle that can shoot through walls, a reference to the TR-116 rifle modified by Chulak with a micro transporter featured in the DS9 episode Field of Fire.
Oh, nice.
Ma'a mentions that other Klingons have tried to destroy the peace between the Federation and the Klingon Empire, as previously seen with General Chang, Ambassador Kell, and the House of Duras. Ma'a saying that Klingon blood runs as reddish pink as ever is a reference to the inconsistent variations of Klingon blood color throughout the franchise.
I was hoping they'd throw in Pepto-Bismol, but they didn't.
Except the color is pink. Is that same Pepto-Bismol pink every time you see blood for the Klingons here?
Yeah.
2 officers, a human and a Vulcan, each wore a leotard in their off time, matching those worn by Deanna Troi and Beverly Crusher in the Next Generation episode, The Price.
Nice.
So, Paul, since you're our guest, what is your thoughts on this episode?
At first, it was very disjointed, going from ship to ship. It wasn't as flowy as some of the other episodes. So that was a little, I want to say, off-putting. On the other hand, it was great to see the perspective of the lower decks on each of the ships.
Yes.
So I thought it was well worth that trade-off. I loved how... I loved being able to see a glimpse into that, how like the Klingons, they said, oh, the Klingons will probably have it just as well as we do. And not only they in like sleeping like in close quarters, but they're on nets. Like they're not even built into the wall. They're just like hammocks in there. It's just like, yes, that makes sense.
Yes.
Is that all your thoughts on this episode?
For now, yeah. I'll interject more as people talk.
Okay, Jacob, what are your thoughts on this episode?
I would say, oh, come on. For some reason, I was getting this episode and the next episode confused. Obviously, there's a tie-in.
There's a connection.
Yeah. There's a connection with it, obviously. But I love the idea we get to see the other lower decks of like the Klingons and the Vulcans. I enjoy that. I really enjoy that. I enjoy that. Definitely, this is it turns into what I enjoyed about the movies, where you get a lot more action based. Like towards the end, you get this like little glimpse of what's going on. It's like, oh, there's a distress beacon going on. There's like a fluctuation of energy going on. Like the Vulcans are the first one to pick it up, and they're like, it's like you'd be like you're going outside your parameters with this, and the Cerritos crew picks up on it, and they jump out of warp, and you get in this like mad dogfight. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like really, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was like, oh, okay, we're finally getting to see something, like what I'm used to in the movies. Some action going on.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You got to see some stuff blow up.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to play it out as like, I'm just here for the action, man. But it's just like, it was like this. What I understand about Star Trek as a television show is about, it's more about exploring. It's more about understanding, like exploring different worlds. And for me, from the movie perspective, it's about what like really dangerous situation our characters are going to get into this time. And like Lower Decks does that. But then you get into this episode and the next episode, it is just so, it'd be like, it takes the movie format of the adventure and the excitement of like, oh, you got real peril going on, and it's just not, inner character dialogue, which I enjoy on this show. And I hope I'm not rambling and sounding like a knucklehead, but
not any more than normal.
Huh?
Not any more than normal.
Oh, thanks. Ow! That's still coming up. Come on, man. Come on, Deal-It.
She says it'll wear off by morning.
Okay. Do I really have to go buy a litter box now?
Unless you can hold it by morning.
She says that part shouldn't be effective, but thank you for giving us all that mental image.
You're most welcome. I enjoyed this episode. It was really good. It was a very well done. The point where like all three story points converge, where the Acklets and the Romulans, the Klingons are in alliance.
But the Romulans were not in this episode.
No, the Romulans were not in this episode. It was the Klingons, and I enjoy where the Klingon lower deck attendee. Not attendee. Come on, Jacob, use your words right. The Klingon, he rises in ranks and overthrows the captain, realizing the captain is in the wrong, and be like, this is not the way that Klingons don't do this. Klingons don't do this, and be like, he kills the captain, becomes the captain.
Yeah, and
it's just like, let's just get out of here. Be like this is not the way to do. We're gonna go back to the council, and we're gonna make this right. And I was like, that bravo, that's a great character arc, great character jump for this character. And I don't know if we meet this character again later on in season 3, maybe.
We haven't yet.
Oh, okay.
And the season's over, so maybe he'll come back in 4. I don't know.
Oh, okay. But with this episode focusing on the other lower decks of other ships and other species, it was a delight. It was a delight, and definitely when you get at the very end of it with the Vulcans coming in and saving the Cerritos, that was a real treat. That was nice. I there again, kind of going back to the movies, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this episode, and definitely the way they tie it in with how the end of the series, the end of season 3 goes. I really enjoy it so far.
All right. I really enjoyed this episode also. I do like seeing the other lower deckers and the other ships. I still think the Pac-Led one is the funniest.
Oh gosh, yes.
It's like, I'm hungry. Well, you should eat mushroom. That's a good idea. And then they don't eat anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole idea that the Pac-Led issues that we've been facing since the end of season 1, when they keep coming up, is all because we finally get some answers on that. All that stuff's coming from Dorg, a Klingon who's just trying to, still not. He's faced the taste of war from the Dominion War, because this takes place after that in the Star Trek franchise, but maybe he's really thinking that much like General Chang in Star Trek 6, that we need to go back to this. This is being with the Federation is making us soft, so that's why he's setting up this to try and cause a war to happen, because he wants to die in honorable combat. Technically, he did die in combat. Whether or not that was an honorable death is another matter entirely.
That's for the Klingon Council to decide.
Exactly. So yeah, the whole episode I did enjoy. This is one of my favorites, and I am interested to see what's going to happen with T'Lyn going forward. The Vulcan version of Mariner. Which is really kind of how it feels like in this episode.
That's a good point. And I like the actress, her voice and her character. Her character design reminded me of a Vulcan we have seen before. Maybe it kind of reminded me of like the Vulcan in Star Trek 6, played by the mannequin lady from Sex and the City.
You mean Valeris?
Yeah.
Is the character name. I don't remember the actress's name.
Right, or I don't know. It kind of reminded me of some other Vulcan female we've seen. The
only other character her design reminds me of is actually a Bajoran, Lieutenant Rowe, at the end of TNG.
Okay,
but that's an entirely different character. It's just her design kind of looks like that.
Maybe it's the headband. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. All right, so let's go ahead and go into the last episode of season 2. First Contact, directed by Jason Zurich and written by Mike McKayen. In this episode, the USS Cerritos is tasked to aid another starship on a first contact mission. In this episode, we've got Phil Lamar as the first officer and Admiral Freeman, Lauren Lapkus playing Jennifer Schrayen, Jim Piddock as Commander Mandel, the voice on the comm badge and crewman Horde played by Ryan Ridley, Billups played by Paul Scheer, and Carl Tart playing Lieutenant Kayshawn. And in this episode, we have a special guest star, Lycia Naff, reprising her role of Sonia Gomez, now a captain. Because when Captain Gomez makes a nervous ensign who trips, she explains how she's done way worse in front of many more intimidating captains. This being a reference to the memorable scene from the Next Generation episode Q Who, in which Gomez accidentally spills a cup of hot chocolate on Captain Picard's uniform.
Oh, jeez.
She is reprising her role. She was introduced as an ensign in the Star Trek Next Generation episode Q Who, and last seen in Samaritan Snare, the episode which introduced the Packlets. In universe, about 16 years have passed since these events, while more than 32 years have passed since the first release of Samaritan Snare. Wow. This likely marks the longest real-world time span between two appearances of a character who is still portrayed by the same actor. Previously, Korn and Arn Darvin, portrayed by John Colicos and Charlie Brill respectively, appeared on Star Trek Deep Space Nine over 28 years after their last appearance on the original series.
Nice.
This episode marks the third time the phrase First Contact is used in the title of a Star Trek installment, the first two being the Next Generation episode First Contact and the movie Star Trek First Contact. This title refers to First Contact missions' prestigious assignments in which Starfleet engages an alien culture for the first time. Despite her mission profile usually focusing on second contacts, the USS Cerritos is assigned to support the USS Archimedes during First Contact with the Lapirians. After the Archimedes is disabled, Captain Gomez allows Captain Freeman to finish the assignment, marking the first such accomplishment for the captain and her crew. This is the first Star Trek episode to feature the end title "To Be Continued" since the Star Trek Enterprise 4th season episode Demons. So that's a little over 20 years.
Yeah.
As solutions to save the Archimedes are discussed, Kayshawn suggests warping around the debris field. Most characters hectically dismiss the idea, and Shax can be heard yelling, "Dr. Aaron says that we can't do that." This is a reference to Dr. Aaron McDonald, the science consultant on Star Trek Lower Decks.
Huh.
Throughout the episode, Brad Boimler is making preparations for Captain Freeman Day, including a banner similar to the one seen for Captain Picard Day in the Next Generation episode, The Pegasus. Several characters point out that the festivities are actually on Arts and Crafts Day intended for children, or in the case of the cetacean, or calves, in other words. Due to the accomplishments during the episode, Boimler later crudely changes the banner to read Happy First Contact. Tendi is excited at the prospect of going to the off-limits rubber ducky room, referencing the barely visible rubber ducks included on Easter eggs by Michael Okuda in the Master System displays on both the Enterprise D and the Cerritos.
Nice.
A captain's yacht is shown for the second time in this episode after its first appearance in Insurrection. Similar vessels have often been included in Master System displays and background information about various ship classes. As the implant of Samantha Rutherford once again malfunctions, he quickly views several backup memories of moments he had spent with Devon Tendi, most of which are taken from previous episodes. Notably, one previous unseen memory sees Rutherford and Tending celebrating a New Year's Eve in 2381, while another sees the pair painting a nude Jack Ransom in an apparent art class. Rutherford also views and dismisses a memory in which he seemingly receives the implant for the first time. This unidentified shadowy figures indicate that Rutherford actually does not need the implant and imply that it may have nefarious uses unbeknownst to him. More on that in season 3. Cetacean Ops is shown for the first time after several mentions and references in previous episodes, starting with Second Contact. Its function is revealed to be associated with the ship's navigation. A similar facility was mentioned to exist aboard USS Enterprise D in the Next Generation episode Yesterday's Enterprise and The Perfect Mate. It has also been included as a piece of background lore in publications such as the Star Trek Next Generation Technical Manual, Star Trek The Next Generation Enterprise D Blueprints. Matt and Kimolu, our two beluga whales, the first shown Starfleet officers from an Earth-based species other than humans. And I have a bunch of other ones in here.
Other than humans?
Trivia.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on for a long period of time. But you know what? I'm going to skip over the rest of this.
Wait. I didn't understand that. Oh, Earth-based other than
Earth-based,
humans. I was about to say all the others. Every species out there is other than human, but Earth-based other than human.
Earth-based, yeah, because there's technically a third Earth-based species in Star Trek, which we have only seen in Voyager, which are descended from the dinosaurs, but they're not in this episode.
Okay, so the cats aren't from Earth. Okay.
No.
Okay.
They are one of these species that were originally created for Star Trek the Animated Series.
Yes, which I've seen a couple. I love that they tie it all. First of all, I got one of the things that I love about. I just want to throw this in there about Lower Decks. Good. As a fanboy, I love all the connections and using and references from all these others. Unlike another Star franchise that tries to say, no, this is canon and this is not. It's kind of separating. This show pulls together, and I applaud it for it.
Even the silliest things.
Yes, it makes it even better when they do that. So yes.
Yeah.
So Paul, since you are talking about why don't you go ahead and tell us what you liked about this episode?
Because there's some things about this, like, it's really weird because these last two episodes are so different from almost the rest of the series. Each episode is mainly a standalone. There are a few like leftovers that can be fed into other. These really are more serialized than the rest, I would say. So it's not a great jumping off point for anyone coming into the series, just as a warning. Get some background with some other episodes. But that being said, there sorry, I'm trying to think of something that I liked. there's a lot more drama. There's a lot of things in this. There's a lot more drama, like the whole like upper decks or forget what they're called, the bridge against the captain because they think she's gonna leave, and there's a lot of hostility there that there usually isn't. But one of the things that I found intriguing about this episode is the whole idea of taking off the outer hull to navigate through this, this asteroid field, for layman's terms, and because they have to take it off for science reasons. Fine, I get that. I thought it was a great idea, something in Star Trek that you've never seen before. I mean, which is hard to do.
Something you could not have done in the age of the ship models.
Yeah.
I suppose so. I was trying to think, when was the last time something like this has been done? Something where it's like you take an integral part of the show and you make a new thing out of it. It's like, oh, this is a new thing that can be done. And I don't mean like, oh, we changed the replicators to now make coffee instead of whatever. But the last time I can think of something this major is the first episode of Next Generation when they do the saucer separation.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, they do a major ship modification for reasons. It's a good reason. Now, guiding through the asteroid field or whatever it is without that outer skin and keeping bumping into things, I just like, why isn't the ship blowing up? I don't understand.
They made it sound like that's a second, I guess it is a secondary hull technically, that maybe the inner hull can actually do the same kind of job of protecting it from the rocks. But and the thing is, you do see that there was at least some punctures into in that last shot.
Sure. It's amazing what, as many Star Trek shows and movies that I've seen, and like it's amazing what damage these ships can take and still function.
Yes.
And then for most of the episode, I'm like, why does it say first contact? Why is it first? And then by the end, you realize, oh, it's Cerritos's first contact. Oh, okay, that's clever. Okay, so that was clever. It's interesting to see where this story is going. This whole I don't know if it's A story, B story. They get kind of intertwined, or
they do
in Lower Decks. But I'm trying to think what else happens in this. I think that's
pretty much it's that whole thing. We got getting in there and keeping the other ship from crashing into the planet.
I guess usually there's like a major story and like a couple minor stories going on, but this, I think the only other minor story is the captain keeping the secret. Like she's gonna,
there is the idea that Tendi thinks that she's going to be taken off the ship because
that's right,
she overhears Dr. Ta'ana say that she's not fit to be in medical, and it's because she's actually
wants her to move up
and
which is a
areas.
Wonderful payoff from all the drama with the captain going on.
Yes.
So that's the only really B story, because I mean the only other one is Boimler wanting to get credit for Captain Freeman Day.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah,
which is a stupid joke. Which I do have one issue, and it's because I don't think any other Star Trek television show or movie has done something I think this stupid. Why on earth did they, when they designed the Cerritos, did they put a console at the bottom of a water-filled tube that's supposed to be water-filled that can only be operated by someone with hands? Even if it is something that should almost never have a need to be used.
It's almost like, why is the only exit of a cat world at the top of a high tower? It's like plot reasons. That's the only reason why.
And I get that. It's a nice,
the only reason.
It's a nice little a little sequence. Don't get me wrong. It's just it just seems like Starfleet does some weird things in their ship designs from time to time.
But
this is one of the stupidest things I've seen them do.
I agree with that. And also Boimler being so wanting to take credit for his preparations for the Captain's Day seems kind of out of character for
it really feels
him.
like they really didn't know what to do with this character this episode, except for that one sequence. And they thought, oh, well, this whole Captain Picard, we'll make a Captain Picard Day jokes with his character.
Which is
all
fine,
episode,
but to the degree that he takes it, I thought was too far for him. Anyway,
But anyway, do we have anything else we need to talk about before we end this episode?
I think with when it comes to Tinley and Rutherford, with Tinley like scared to death she's gonna get booted off the Cerritos, and Rutherford not wanting to lose his memories that he has with Tinley.
Yeah,
and I think
he's still spooked from the end of last season.
Yeah, he's still spooked about it, and I enjoy where it's one of the characters come to him and be like, hey. If you be like you keep all these memories, you're gonna have any there's not gonna be room to grow. I mean, he makes that decision to delete all of it, and you get that little flash and be like, oh, there's something in his past that he doesn't like. Maybe he wasn't supposed to remember. I enjoy that. Obviously, it's something in season 3,
and I'm over here trying not to say something.
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there.
I'm just saying that all I will say for this for that little sequence, this is allowing this show to actually do the world building that Star Trek Picard did not do. I'm just gonna put that out there.
Okay, sure. And what the it's like when it comes to the reveal that it's like, oh, the captain is actually under arrest for the
suspicion of blowing up an entire planet.
Yeah,
which I thought was a great twist.
Oh yeah, that was nice. Because Captain, what's her name? Captain Gomez? Freeman.
Freeman. Yeah,
Captain Freeman. Be like, it's this entire setup to where like, oh, she's gonna be promoted. Yeah, and it turns out, nope, she's getting arrested. I was like, oh, that's nice. And then it leads into what
season
they're
3.
gonna lead into season 3. And what I understand, a lot of shenanigans happened.
Season 3, I think, is better than season 2, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because I thought season 2 was better than season 1.
Well, see, here's the thing.
I would agree with you there.
For me, my problem with season 2 is it feels like even with the second viewing, it feels like they were not sure where they were going with some different things, which is why we have an entire episode named after the replacement security officer with Kayshawn, and then like 2 episodes later, Shax is back. So it's like they knew they couldn't bring Shax back immediately, but then they bring this other character in for like now he's just a background character that shows up from time to time.
It
seemed like whatever they're thought of the and of course they backtracked quickly on Boimler being on the Titan.
Yeah,
really quickly.
One episode.
2 episodes.
I thought
actually.
2 episodes. I thought that was a great out, though.
Agreed, it was. I thought it was great.
Now I will say a lot of my issues with season 2, in some of that really does get fixed when we get to season 3 because there's a lot of they know where their story is going now. I will say that it really felt like at the beginning of season 2 they didn't know how to jump out of season 1 and continue the story. So they had a couple of quick episodes that maybe were not pushing a story forward, even though you did have the stuff with the Pakleds that the Titan was dealing with.
Yeah.
But by this point, I mean, really I'd say episode 5. They knew where they were going and they can continue it forward from there.
That makes sense to me because from what it feels like to me is that season 1 is very much an episode by episode, whatever you call it. But season 2 is a transition from episodic to serialized.
Yeah, actually having a continuing story.
Right. You have some at the beginning. You have some stories overlapping, very few, but then by the end, it's like almost all the stories are beginning to continue and overlap, and so it's that transition that's a little awkward.
And the thing is, there is continuity starting in this season that seems to actually affect stuff going forward, like the relationship we saw between Ta'ana. Dr. Ta'ana and Shax.
Yeah.
That throughout the season, even though it was kind of not in your face, but it was there if you're watching it. That continues forward. All the stuff dealing with Jennifer will continue going forward, especially after this episode. And the whole thing with and the fact that they're actually playing with Rutherford's past, I think it's actually going to take elements from season 1, namely a certain character that was my favorite character from season 1.
Okay.
1 episode character. Well, 2 episodes. He was in 2 episodes.
Okay.
Certain holographic character.
No.
He doesn't come back, but they are actually bringing the logic forward as to what's causing what the whole deal, what with Rutherford's deal.
Oh, okay.
That actually will play in all the way to the last episode of season 3.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a lot going on. Just those stories that we mentioned between the captain and everyone that you just mentioned now. That's a lot going on.
And they keep all the great Star Trek references all the way through. In fact, season 3 has a ton of guest characters.
Good.
And it never feels like
favorite parts.
And it never feels like there's like 1 or 2, or feels like they added them because we needed one this episode. But they all, a lot of them do feel like story relevant, or at least really good jokes. Especially in the next episode, Grounded.
Okay.
With Bill Murray, Groundhog Day.
No, not quite. Let's just say this one actually, while we've only had 1 episode so far that took place on Earth, this next episode mostly takes place on Earth, and a lot of the Earth places that Star Trek has gone.
Okay.
You'll have to wait and see.
We'll
get there when we get there. Paul, since you are our guest this evening, why don't you tell us where we can find you at and what kind of cool stuff you're doing?
Well, I am pauljpowers.com. You can find me at pauljpowers.com and see what I'm up to there. All my social media links. Nothing too exciting except that you can always find me at the Retro Rewind podcast, where we review movies and games that are 15 years and older. And we have hundreds of episodes out. It's coming up to our 10th year anniversary. So
nice.
You can go to retrorewindpodcast.com, and there's a search button. Search for any of your favorite movies or games, and give us a listen. See if we're worth your time, I guess.
All righty. I think, though, that's probably going to be it for us tonight. So in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And this is pauljpowers.com.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759.
I really should update that.
His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast. On Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming. On YouTube at Cellcast. On Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
not great. I'm a cat still. Man, when is this ever gonna end?
Meow.
Oh crap.
Meow.